Hello everybody, how is everybody today on this fine Saturday? We finally got a Saturday without rain. We're not going to be rained out with everything.
That's
what do you think about that? My name's Jay Hunt. I'm with In the Game Insurance Services.
My name's Ross Elrich. I also work for In the Game Insurance.
We are an independent insurance agent. We broker. We work for you. That's what our business partner, or the owner of our company, Chris Cooper, would say, that he doesn't work. We do not work for any specific agency. We work for our clients. And in the game really means we're in the game. We're boots on the turf with you guys, and nothing's more relative than what we've been going through in our area. You know, right now we're halfway between Lee Summit and Warrensburg, and this is an area that has been hit quite hard in the last few years. And I don't know, what do you think, Ross? What have you been experiencing?
When you talk to your neighbors, just about everyone's gotten a new roof in the last 5-10 years. And insurance is for when something goes bad, and you want to make sure you have an agent that you can talk to, and they can walk you through everything. Preferably an independent agent like us, where we have 30+ carriers that we can shop and make sure that our clients are getting the best possible coverage for their means and their property.
Let's tell a story about Chris Cooper told us the other day that a lady that's been his client for quite some time was down around the KU Med Center, and she'd never been involved in a car wreck before. She didn't know what to do. She didn't want to call the 800 number and go through all the prompts and everything, so she called Chris. And Chris walked her through, and she called him back and thanked him because he really put her mind at ease and was able to get her through all the steps that she needed to do. Because let's face it, you know, whether it's a disaster like we've been having here in Kansas City over the last couple months, or your first car wreck, or anything, it's not anything you all do every day. We do it every day, you know, with our clients, but that's why you want guys like us, that you can just pick up the phone and call, because we're going to be there.
Yep, we actually do care a lot about our clients. It's when we enjoy talking to people, and like I said, when we're able to shop them with over 30 companies, and we make sure that we're putting them in the best possible situation, that makes us feel good as agents. We know we're doing our due diligence, and it quite frankly, the customers, they feel that as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of the things that we enjoy about being independent agents, not what's called a captive agent. For if you work for example, anything that has farm in their name, they only work for one company. They have to follow those rates, and they're more loyal to the company than clients, just on the basis of their nature.
You know, and they're probably all good agents, but to have the flexibility of having the opportunity to shop you after several years, you know, because that's one of the things that we were going to talk about today was the mistakes people make sometimes with their insurance, and one of them, flat out, is underinsuring your home. I had a client that had bought the home in the 80s, and they bought the model home in the neighborhood, and so it had a lot of amenities like extra cabinets and not builder's grade stuff. We're talking custom bathrooms, fixtures, faucets, cabinetry, the whole bit. She called me up for a quote, and I'm running through it, and I'm sweating bullets because I'm doing the reinvestment or the revaluation on the house, what it's going to cost to rebuild it, a fairly big size home. This lady was underinsured by half. Mm-hmm. She was underinsured. In fact, she was insured for $385, and I was coming in at over $900,000. Had that poor lady lost her home, she'd just been in trouble. So with us, what we like to do is engage our clients in conversation and ask them pertinent questions about, you know, what is in their home. But even more important, as time goes on, that's kind of another mistake people make, is, you know, my wife and I bought our home 24 years ago. Well, you know, things have changed in 24 years. We've just graduated a daughter from high school. The closets we never thought would get full of stuff. Mm-hmm. We've bought furniture. We've bought bigger TVs. Our possessions have grown. Our net worth maybe or maybe not has grown. I don't really know. But so you need to visualize and analyze, I would say, every 3 to 5 years. And one of the good ways, and you may have some other suggestions as well, but with today's technology, I've done it in the past where I've taken the camcorder and walked through my home.
Yep.
But today, with our phones, we can sit there and film everything on our phone. Let's say we just got a new sofa or a new big screen TV. We'll film it, throw it up in the cloud under a folder, and that way, when there are catastrophes, you're going to be able to show your insurance man, because depending on how your policy reads, it may not cover X amount of dollars, you know, for all the incidentals and stuff that you have in your home.
Yeah, with insurance, you got to look over it. Like we said, have your agent talk to you about it. When you're talking about personal property items, a lot of times these companies, they'll try and have it be depreciated value on whatever it is. So if you bought a 2005 TV, they're going to try and give you that depreciated value for every year. With our customers, we always make sure that they're getting what's called actual costs, so they can get a brand new 2019 TV for instead. And there's a lot of little stuff like that that you want to look at when you're going over your insurance with your agent. Assuming your agent calls you, that's another thing we always hear. People always go, well, I haven't talked to him in 5 years since I signed up. We reach out several times throughout the year. If you ever have a claim, we follow up with them, make sure they're okay, walk them through the process. I'll tell another story about Chris, because he's been doing this for 19 years, our president, Chris Cooper, and he had one of our clients in Kansas City, Kansas. He got in an accident. He had his 5-year-old son with him. It was one of those July Kansas City days where it was well into 100 or in the 90s. And he's like, hey, I don't even know what to do. I got to get back. My son's, he's really hot. And Chris goes, well, I'll come pick you up. He picked him up, filed the claim. He put him on speakerphone, and he called the company for him, answered all the questions. You want to take as many pictures as you can and document as much as you can, like you said. Use the technology that we have, and it's just little things that we don't like to skip over the small details, because those really make a big difference.
Well, we like to engage in conversation and find out what are the hot buttons or trigger points or whatever term you want to use, which gets somebody going. I mean, one of the worst things that we would want to happen, and we've had some disasters in the last week or two here in the Kansas City area. God forbid a disaster comes through and levels your home, but you don't want to have to call your agent and find out that this isn't covered or that isn't covered, or yeah, we can tear down the home, but you've got to pay to have the debris removed. What other pitfalls are
Well,
we
talk about Linwood, because it just happened last week. If a tornado comes through and destroys your neighborhood, chances are your neighborhood was built all at one time. They bought everything, and let's say it was a 1980 built home. They bought all the lumber at once, all the materials, the roofing materials. The cost of shingles is impacted by oil prices, so oil was cheaper back then. What people will do is, if you had a $250,000 home on Zillow, you want to get it insured typically for $350,000, $400,000, and then also have replacement costs. Because let's say if it was just your home that was knocked out, it's going to be $2019. That's going to be paying for it, and that is significantly higher.
And that's a great point, and you're probably going to get there, and I hope I'm not stepping on your toes.
Go for it.
But supply and demand.
Yep.
When you have a neighborhood like Linwood that just got hit, and there's only X amount of builders that's going to be able to go in and even drive that far to build a neighborhood, well, they're all of a sudden, they've got supply and then you've got the demand. They may jack your rates up 25, 30%. I don't know. I'm hoping that they're going to be up and up. But nevertheless, it gives them the license. A perfect example in that is, let's say you were trying to get a tree removed in July last summer. Well, you didn't do it, but now you decided to wait during the storm period like now. These guys, again, are supply and demand, and that price of that tree removal may be doubled.
Exactly. And another thing is, all these endorsements that we're talking to add on policy are only $10, $30, $40 for the whole year.
Share the one story that we were talking about the other day about the $9
Yes. So we talked to this man in Topeka. They're up on the hill. Obviously, we're getting a lot of water in Kansas, and he had, in the middle of his basement, he had a crack in the foundation. Water was coming up through.
Oh, man.
He didn't have water backed up in sump pump overflow coverage, and we looked into it. We can't cover the claim now because it's already happened. It actually took out his, I believe it was his heater that got impacted because it wasn't up off the floor, and we added it on for him. He had travelers, and it was $9 for the rest of the year. He has $10,000 in coverage, which his heater was $2,000. He had AB May, a home warranty, come in and try and work on it. But the point is, for $9, you should have heard his voice. He's like, well, I wish I would have known about that, because
None
he
of
would
us
have been able to
want.
prevent it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we're here for.
None of us want high rates. I sure, as an agent, don't want to just pad your stuff. But what I also don't want is get the phone call, hey Jay, why didn't you even offer this to me?
Exactly.
You know, we have to do due diligence, because that little $9, my gosh, would you pay $9 to get $10,000 worth of repair done? I know I would.
Right.
And it beats paying the $10,000. And that's, again, what we do at In the Game Insurance is we kind of get to the nuts and bolts with each and every client, not only on homes, but on autos. We do life. We have a financial advisor in the office as well.
Yep.
We do so many different things. We're not just a one-trick pony.
Yep, we have. I feel lucky to be on the team. We have an excellent group of people. I'm obviously the youngest in the office, but I have all these resources.
So you're saying I'm the oldest in the office,
Well,
which is true.
The most veteran, Jay.
Okay, the most veteran. All right.
And
You're very nice.
But it's just, we have a great team. It literally costs nothing for us to review coverage and shop, and we quote people every day, and sometimes most time we can help them, sometimes we can't, and that's where we're like, hey, you're in a good place now, but this ticket is falling off in October, and our rates will be much more competitive. One thing we do like to talk about as well, especially on the auto side, is folks have state minimum limits. In Missouri, it's $25,000 per person, $50,000 per vehicle, and $10,000 for property damage. So if you get in an accident and you hit a car that's over $10,000, you're going to be out over $10,000. I talked to a lady yesterday. It was $5 to double that to $5,150. It is how it breaks down into, and she was grateful. She was working with the Volkswagen Lease Summit dealer, and he's not an agent, but he's like, oh, well, what's the lowest? I'm like, well, this is the lowest, but as an agent, we want our insureds to be off that state minimum, which also helps your insurance score in the long run as well. So,
and this brings up a good point. Something just entered my head. If any of you have questions about your coverage, feel free to give us a call. And again, you can do 816-965-2339. Hit a prompt for Chris, myself, Ross. I'm Jay Hunt. This is Ross. But we'll be happy to look over your coverage, free charge. And I have most of my customers, to be quite honest with you, they wait till their renewals come up. And some people, for example, I suggest they do, because they'll have a teenage driver and they've had some problems. I'm like, just wait till your rates, you get your renewal, because they're going up, and I'm going to be able to shop you to show you what it was with that.
What's the insurance score exactly? What is that? Is that like a credit score
yes.
for insurance?
Yes, that's exactly the best way to compare it to. In fact, having a higher insurance score, it does play a small role in improving your credit score as well. Me as an agent, my limits are 250, 500, 100, which that's the highest that you can get without adding an umbrella onto your policy to cover your liability. So really, the higher the better. It does bump it up a little bit, 5, 10, whatever, but over time, especially if you're a safe driver, you don't get a lot of tickets or accidents, it is going to improve your, what's called the insurance score. And that's something that people, we always talk about stuff they don't teach kids in school. They need to teach, it's our jobs to do it, but educate folks that your insurance score is important. They look back 5 years on tickets and accidents is how far they can ding you. 3 years for tickets, but accidents are 5 years. So just little things like that is what we always cover when we talk to our clients or customers.
It's good to know.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's another thing out here, and again, I hate to be picking on what we've gone through lately, but it's forefront of all of our minds because of the devastation. But we even have, Ross, different deductibles. We have a carrier that in this particular past storm, that their deductible on their home and their car isn't the same. Well, this insurance company will let you just pay the higher of the two and only have to pay one deductible for your home and your car.
Yep. Yeah, I've talked to a lot of folks over the years that really appreciated that. One thing I would say is stay away from those depreciating roof deductibles. A company that's sponsored by AARP, they're really pushing that all the time, and we don't even sell them. But that's one thing, is you do not want a depreciating roof, because you'll get $200 for a $20,000 roof if you don't get a lot of hail or anything, and then something happens. So it's much easier just to have your $1,500 wind hail deductible and get your $10,000 roof.
Yeah. You know, and there's things that people ask us all the time is how much liability insurance should we have in our home, protect us in case somebody falls down? Well, that's a great question. I don't know, it's not a one-size-fits-all answer.
No.
I think I would have to take a look at what do you do for a living? What are your assets? What kind of people do you have coming over your home?
Right.
Are you the host family for, like I have been for the last 4 years of high school, feeding kids
pool?
all week long? Do you have a pool?
Yeah.
What could go wrong? The thing about insurance is we want to cover all the possible things that could go wrong. We don't want any of them to happen, guys.
No.
We want to be your agent, your friend, and be there with a phone call anytime you want anything. But we have to ask what could happen. Do you have a pool? You know, the stray kid could walk around and fall in, you know, and just trip, hit his head, and hit his or her head, and we don't want that. So we ask a lot of questions.
It goes back to the old saying, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. That's our mindset as agents. We don't assume anything bad's going to happen. We're going to do everything on our end, all the underwriting, get every little detail we can into when they do the home inspection, so everything's as accurate as possible.
We've talked about things change in life. One of my things on my notes here is maybe you've gotten a new dog, and maybe you need to call us and see if that dog is like an Akita or something that would be on an endangered dog kind of list. The coverage on it isn't too bad, but you love the animal and you sure wouldn't want to by accidentally nip someone, and then you find yourself entangled up in a lawsuit, you know. So.
I'm a dog lover myself. We had 3 Rottweilers where I lived, and I love them all to death, but the reality is one bite and you can lose feeling in your hand for the rest of your life with certain breeds. So, like we said, you want to make sure, relating to the dogs, that you have that coverage on. Again, it's $5-10 a month, and you feel better when you're walking around. Your dogs and little kids are always running up to you, trying to pet your beautiful looking Great Dane or German Shepherd, whatever you have. But that's just, there's so many layers to this, and we try to find the personalized coverage for exactly what people need, because everyone has a different situation. Everyone has a different home, people around them, their budgets are different, and really you know when you find the best deal for yourself, and that's what we hear a lot when we service our customers.
And that's a good point too. We were talking last couple of weeks about the average homeowner claim is 1 in 11.5 years. Doesn't seem like a lot, but how many of us have had a claim? I know as a kid growing up, my dad built the home in Lee Summit in 1970 for my mom. You know, I had 4 brothers, and I bet it was in 2005 they got their first roof from a hailstorm. So that was the only claim that I ever recall that my mom and dad ever had on their home. So we're not experienced in it. You know, it's not something we all do. Well, we don't want to do it.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly, Jay.
Do you have any other little quick facts like that you want to share?
I do want to share about the utilities service line coverage.
That's great.
It's about $40 a year. What that is if there's a water main from your street to your house, if it breaks, you are responsible for it. A lot of times the water companies try to sell it to you for about $200 a year. That is something you can add onto your policy as an endorsement.
Not all companies have it though, right?
Not all companies have it. Not all cities have it. Not all companies have it. But that is something that you would want to look into, because you would be liable. Every couple of years we'll hear about something like that, and that's one thing we do add on to.
Like tree root damage that's coming through and hit your cable, or your maybe you live in an old neighborhood where they were clay pipes. Is this the kind of stuff?
Yes, that's exactly what this covers. It's only, like I said, $40 a year. You're responsible for that water line from the street all the way to your house.
But it's built into, if you are mortgage billed, it's built in your mortgage, so you wouldn't even see that $40 out of your pocket anyway. You know, so you're looking at $3 a month that's out of your mortgage. You wouldn't even know the difference, but you'll know it's there. So. Yep,
exactly. And over time, you accumulate a lot more contents. You might add additions onto your house. You're always trying to protect it. And that's what this does.
And that's a neglect in itself. And in addition, and we've talked about this, is failing to notify and give me a call, because you think, oh my gosh, Jay's just going to go ahead and raise my rates up.
No.
You know, well, yeah, you probably are, but you've gained assets and you've gained material things that you love and cherish and you want them protected. You know,
when we talk to someone who's especially been with their agent who's captive for however many years, we usually save them several hundred, if not over $1,000. I mean, every week we're saving people thousands of dollars on just autos or just homes. So we're like, hey, we doubled your liability. We added on replacement costs on your contents. We added the utility service line coverage, and we're still saving you over a grand. People were like, sweet, yes, send me some business cards. You know,
Sure.
I want to make sure my friends and family are getting this type of coverage that I'm receiving. And again, you got our personal line, you got our cell phone number for your agent. You can call us anytime.
Absolutely.
That's what we're here for.
We'll give you our cell
What's
phone
the
numbers.
difference between replacement cost and actual cash value?
Okay, so replacement cost is 2019 replacement cost. Well, let me go back. Replacement cost is on when you look at your homeowner's policy. There's a number that we had to put in, how old your heating system is, how old your cooling system is, when your roof was put in. If you have a deck, we got to know how big your deck is approximately square footage, because they're going to send out an inspector. They'll just do the outside, but they'll go around the house and be like, yeah, they do have a 300 square foot deck. Actual cash value is the amount that you actually get with the depreciated value.
Right. That is correct. So whatever cost to replace is replacement costs. Whatever it is assessed to be worth. If it's a 100-year-old deck, it probably ain't worth a whole lot.
Yeah.
Same with the roof. You know, I used the example of my parents. It was a 30-year-old roof. It wasn't worth anything. If they weren't going to get actual cash value, they wouldn't have got the roof replaced. You know, so.
And that doesn't cover the basement, does it?
It would cover the basement.
It would cover the
It
Yeah.
would. Okay.
Yeah, because we're putting in square footage. We use the county appraisers' websites, Zillow, all of them, just to get all the information, everything we can possibly get. We just ask as many questions as we can. We want to put it all out there, because that's actually, you know, the worst thing is if they come and do the inspection and then there's an increase because we didn't do something right. That never happens for us because, like I said, we put an emphasis on detail, but we always try to gather as much information as possible on the homes, especially because you know, $400,000 is on average the replacement cost for a 2,500 square foot home, and it's a big deal to people. This is their whole livelihood. This is what folks who have been working for 40 years have everything.
I have a great story. Chris and I worked with a couple over the holidays this last year, and she just retired, and he was getting ready to retire, and they had 4 automobiles. 2 that were brand new, loved them, have less than 500 miles on them. So we're asking the questions. Again, she's retired, pleasure driver, not to work, not to school, not mandated. The other car was totally pleasure. His car was pleasure. His to work, he only lived 4 or 5 miles from work. We saved him $3,200 a year on their auto insurance alone.
Wow.
I mean, so is it important to keep in touch and let us know about your lifestyle changes? Yeah. I mean, we're in the game. We're in the game with you.
We're in the game, and you know, we're giving everyone a lot of information, but this is all basic stuff. This is natural
Very much.
questions that you should feel comfortable talking to your agent and asking them. So that's what we're here for, and it keeps us makes us better over time, quite frankly. Just knowing that we're doing our best and answering these questions entirely and dealing with all these situations in real time.
How is Matt? May I ask you a question? How when this is aired and stuff, are people, since we're not going to be live like your show, where people are texting you on your phone, how are they going to be able to maybe ask questions for us to be able to answer on there? Will it be logged in? We'll be able to recapture it.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you're watching it on your Facebook,
Yeah, that's
you'll
how.
be able to answer.
We
the
can address
questions.
it the next week during the next taping.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Perfect.
You can address it then, and you can also, if you're watching it when I air it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
On your Facebook,
Oh,
you
okay.
can see the comments at that time.
Okay.
You can answer questions as they go.
Yeah, we'll be definitely watching.
What time will that be?
It'll be at 9 a.m.
Okay.
Central Time.
Okay.
How are we on our time right now?
You've been on for about 25 minutes.
I know.
Running out of material?
A little bit, because
Yeah.
I talk fast.
Yeah, and I tried to slow down. I'm accused of talking fast all the time. I guess we can just go back over some more contents, or how do we fill in more time?
Explain an umbrella.
Okay.
I've never heard that. I've heard that term, but not in regards to insurance before.
The question's coming in to explain what an umbrella policy is. Do you want to take that? I'll be happy to. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I can go over it. So when you get a home, people typically have their personal liability at $300,000. That's if a neighbor kid came over and they broke their leg and their parents decided to sue, saying that there was negligence on your part, you had wet floors or just there's whatever the situation is. If someone decides to sue you after getting injured on your property, a personal umbrella, they start at $1 million. If you know lawyer friends, they probably have a $2 or $3 million umbrella on their policy, just because
They're assets.
they're assets.
They don't want to hit their 401k, or they don't want to lose their leg home because some kid fell down and broke his leg.
Exactly, and that follows you everywhere. That's when you're driving in your car. Wherever you happen to be, your personal liability is the amount that goes in that umbrella, which gives you another $1 million of coverage.
I find it more often being sold to couples that have had good jobs for a long, long time, and then all of a sudden they mix in a teenage driver. And gosh darn it, we hope nothing ever happens, but a teenage driver's probably going to have, some kind of a fender bender, and you don't want to get sued and have it hit your personal assets. And so the umbrella just does exactly what it says. It just puts a big old shield over your personal assets and helps your homeowners, your auto owners, and whatever have a different bucket to access money from in case they ever needed it. And the umbrella policies, for the most part, that win $1 million, it's a couple, $200-300 a year, just depending on what they all vary. They're all very inexpensive.
Yep, and like we said, people who have big homes and lawyers who are in court every day dealing with these insurance cases, they're ones. Some of the people who get them the most, just because they see it every day. So for $200-300 a year, that peace of mind and just knowing that wherever you go, you have $1 million umbrella covering you. There's no loopholes. It's just going to help you out when you need it. So
here's a question I get quite a bit: is where do I set my deductible on my home and my cars?
Mm-hmm.
And what my normal answer is basically is if I go out and took my fist and hit my car, I'm probably doing $500, $1,000 worth of damage. Just that simple. That's just the way cars are anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the pitfalls people get into is they want that $200, $250 deductible because they don't want to be out of pocket a lot. And that's fine. It just raises your premiums quite a bit. I'm a firm believer of $500 to $1,000. And then let's say there is a claim that comes in that's $1,000 and you have a $500 deductible. Should you file a claim with your insurance company? Now you have that right,
Mm-hmm.
but just note that the insurance company is going to get their extra $500 back. At some point, that's just how it works. They're going to raise your rates over the next few years for that to get back in its place. They won't quite admit it's done that way, and I probably shouldn't have said it that way, but they're going to raise the rates on you anytime you file a claim. So having guys like us, Ross, where you call in and say, hey, I just had a fender bender, my deductible's $500, it's $750, should I turn in the claim? I'm going to say eat the $250 yourself. You already paid the $500, so just eat it and don't file the claim. But other people think, well, $1,000 is too high. Well, that's just up to you guys and your spouse and yourself. You need to discuss what levels you keep in your checking account or whatever. But that's a question that comes across.
I would say, as far as getting the best value for your money and how cars are made nowadays, $1,000 more than likely is where you get the best deal. Because, like you said, you can barely bump your car, put a dent in it nowadays, and it will be over $1,000 to get the dent pulled out, get it repainted, and the time and hours that the shop use. So I usually quote it $1,000. I'm always playing with it, saying like, well, what would be $500? But more often than not, the increase is not worth what you would be paying monthly. So.
And there's so many different things that through discussion, when we were talking about car insurance, that we like to have with clients. One is, are they in an area where they may get a lot of rock chips or need windows replaced all the time? There's that coverage that's available for autos.
Yep.
There's the Intel. Every company nowadays has a smart drive, if you will, and everyone has a cell phone, a Droid, or an iPhone, or whatever. And all the companies now will monitor what you're driving on, and they give you a pretty significant discount up front. And so you get all the drivers on board. Yeah, you have to go through the hassles of it a little bit, but most people that have had it don't really necessarily complain. What have you found on that?
It's very easy. First off, it's a 10% discount. It's usually you just have to run it for 3 months. You don't have to plug in something underneath your steering wheel like what you had to do 5 years ago.
But it is an option. You can have a plug-in.
They'll mail that. They'll
Yeah,
mail
they
it
will.
out to you. You can plug it in underneath. What folks like to do nowadays is they have an app. Every company has an app. Nationwide, it's called Smart Drive. I just started using it, and it's just simple. You log in, type everything in, activate the Smart Drive, and then you kind of just forget about it because your phone's always in your pocket or in your console because nobody drives no one uses their phone while they drive.
And do they send monthly or weekly reports? And so you're going to be shocked a little bit about, well, you brake too much here, you're driving too fast here.
I've got Hum.
Oh, okay.
And that's a Verizon deal.
Yeah.
And, and it gives whenever I take a trip, go to Lee Summit or wherever else, I get my evaluation, and my goal is to be 96 or better.
Yeah.
And tells you if you're hard turning, fast braking, fast acceleration, and it's it's a good check on your driving. I think it's. I've got to ask this question.
Sure.
I was always taught never put your eggs in all one basket.
Meaning?
Well, in the case of car insurance and house insurance,
I'm glad you brought that up.
the reason why, like I said, like for example, in our area, we've been hit with hailstorms, 2 in the last 3 years, and my cars go into the garage below with the garages I have downstairs, and they're not going to get hit usually by the hail. But the house will. So I'm sitting there thinking,
Yeah, that's the east.
should I have?
So yeah.
I'm thinking, should I have but car insurance and house insurance with the same company, or should I have them with different companies?
It's a great question, and personally, I have found that it's called bundle. That's one of the mistakes I think a lot of insurees forget to do or don't think about doing it. And why? I don't know. Is it a process of, I've always been with this guy, and my homeowners, when I bought my home, they told me to go with this guy? I don't know. But you used the term, put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Well, I think the answer to that is real simple. You want all your eggs in one basket to benefit from the discounts you get. So if you're an auto policy holder, a homeowner, and even maybe you've done a life with that company, you'd be surprised of how all the rates will go way down substantial amounts. Now, have you found that to be different in your experience?
Oh, I've definitely found that to be different, to be true. So I have friends that are great at what they do. They work for these captive agencies, and it's no secret that they're like, hey, we give them a good deal on the autos, but on the home, we know they're going to want to be together on a bundle, but it's going to be higher than the rest of the market. These rates are constantly changing, especially if Linwood's going to get a little bit of a rate increase.
So what are you saying? Is it better to bundle or not to bundle?
It is better to bundle.
Better to bundle.
In our case, because we have so many companies to shop with, it is better to bundle because we're looking at, it's usually consistent for 3 years. These 4, 5, 10 companies will be the best on the homes and the autos. And it changes. Safeco was killing everybody 5 years ago. Now they're not as competitive in a lot of areas, as an example. So you get, it's usually 8 to 12% if you have multi-policies and bundle them together. So in this case, and a lot of people like that peace of mind of saying, hey, I have everything, my boat, my RV, home.
I've got one phone call to make. To call Jay,
Yeah,
or call Ross, or call Chris.
Well, it's
Exactly.
like that gal in Linwood. She had her car insurance card, but she's looking over at no house, and she didn't remember who her insurance was with her house because it wasn't the same as her car insurance.
And that's an ideal world. As agents, we would like everything to be with one company, have that one company become in the best on the home and auto. But there are plenty of instances where I run reports and I see that we have so-and-so with their auto here and then they have their home here. And it's just because that was the best deal at the time.
It can happen, but it's not the norm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's best to have it, because we see that when we're running quotes, there's a box for us to check whether we're going to have multi-policies. And those quotes are automatically generated with the multi-line discounts okay? So let's say that you go off of one, you're going to see some of the companies are right away, some of the companies are maybe a year down the road, but they're going to catch that you've let a policy drop off, and they're going to raise the other one. They will do it.
To add on to that, the biggest thing is just always have continuous coverage.
Absolutely.
Company, they see
No
everything.
lapse.
They're all communicating behind the scenes. You do not want to have a lapse, especially over 30 days if you can handle it. Because when you have no coverage for 30 days or not have continuous coverage for 6 months, you're going to pay a higher prorated amount for 6 months until you can get a new rate, and it will sometimes go down by $100 or more. So.
You know, and another thing and some people like to compare their homeowners with just price, and I don't necessarily think that can be good or bad. In fact, I think it could both be good and bad. Price is important. Coverage is the most important thing, and the reputation of the companies that you're with, the personal relationship you have with your agent. And again, just to piggyback on this Axe Media Group and the shows that they provide, we, again, will offer free of charge anyone watching this a free checkup, a free lookup, just to go through and see your stuff. And it can be done real easy. Most people, all they need to do is send us their declaration sheets.
Yep.
And if they don't have them, most of the carriers anymore have websites. You can download them, and all you can do is email them to us. We're going to call you back with a few simple questions. And for most of us, you know, if you're an organized person, you know, like I once was, maybe not so much anymore, but everything's in one place in my house. And so I just go out and get the deck page, and I'm able to do what I need to do. And other people, they just get on their website. Most of the young people that I do with now, they've got everything on their phones, and it's just crazy how they go through, like, oh, here it is, boom, and they send it right to me. And so, you know, 5 or 10 minutes of work on your part is all it takes. And we've been averaging $300 to $800 a year of saving couples for the most part. The exception was the 3,200. I just had a family member. He had 3 drivers, 3 kid drivers, excuse me, over $1,800 a year on his home and automobiles. So, guys, just sticking in the rut, not keeping up with the way life has changed around us. You may be in the norm, and I'll be the first to tell you, I've been in this business for quite a while, but I've been in businesses before where I sold pretty nice little things. Everyone got to walk out the door with them, and they had to bring them in the home, and they got to look at them and marvel and cherish. We don't have anything like that. We don't have pieces of paper that you're going to hang on your wall and display for all your friends and family. We're not an elaborate type of business where you're going to feel all real good and stuff, but by gosh, the day you need us, you know, you're going to be happy, and you're going to want guys like in the game to do your stuff for you.
Yep, I feel very, very lucky to be part of the In the Game team. We have everything we need to succeed, and that's kind of just everything you just said, Jay. Just want to reiterate it. So it's good.
Yeah.
Now I got a question for you.
Please.
Starting with you, Jay.
Okay.
Why did you get into insurance?
You know, that's a great question, and I'd always wanted to be in the insurance business, and I mean,
besides to make a living, of course.
Well, no, but even since 1987, when my oldest daughter was born, I was not in the business. I was offered an opportunity to get in the business, but I didn't have the wherewithal to go a commission-only type of income. Now, and I'm not one, Chris isn't one that's done this. No one's blowing fantasy smoke dollars up in the air that I could possibly be making.
Darn.
But I knew that I wanted to help people. And in fact, at 14 days old, her life insurance policy went into effect.
Oh, wow.
And so my daughter, 13 years later, I have a second daughter, her insurance was bought, went into place at day 14 and a half as well. I've always believed in insurance. Now, people go, well, why do you want children's insurance? Well, I don't want anything to happen to my children, nor do I want anything to happen to your children. But I'll speak from the heart on that one. Little did I know in 1987 that I was going to be marrying a lady who graduated from high school in 1987 that had cancer at 14 years old. And when you have life insurance on a child, they're guaranteed insurable for the rest of their life because they have this policy. Now, what does this policy do? It depends on how much money you want to put into it. I have clients that put as little as $15 a month. I have clients that put as much as $100 a month on their child. Now, are they doing it for the death benefit? No, they're doing it for the cash buildup. So at a certain age, they can buy their leg home or have extra money to retire on. And that's just all a part of the design. Not one size fits all. Not every dollar works for every person. But to answer your question, Matt, a great question. I got into this business to be the guy people would call for no matter what.
Offering peace of mind.
Absolutely.
And what about you, Ross?
Well, Matt, pretty much just keep me out of trouble was the initial reason. No, I'm just joking. So
I could see it.
He's a troublemaker, I'm telling
You
you.
guys can't tell he's sitting down, but he's like 20 feet tall.
yeah,
So
I'm tallest pretty much everywhere I go. But anyways, I had worked at a golf course forever, and it was actually an owner who was wanting to start an agency. He approached me. He's like, "Hey, would you be interested?" And I was like, "Absolutely." I had friends that were in insurance. I was about 22 at the time, and this was more of a call center type of deal, where we were talking to people in 17 states and just getting them on the phone. And it was rough a lot, but I learned a lot as well. I got a lot of good positive experiences out of it and lessons that I learned. What I found out is this stuff is very important. This is the game we're playing in this day and age, where you have to work smart and hard to make sure that you have the correct coverage in place, because it can literally save you thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. What I found out about myself is I always love talking to people, and when I can help people out, that really gives me a lot of self-satisfaction and purpose.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of what it comes down to, and I'm sure if you talk to agents at some point, if you ask them that question, that's going to come out. We love talking to folks and helping them out and knowing that we gave them the best possible situation for their needs. So that's kind of where I've been doing insurance for about 6 years. When I first started in 2013, our president, Chris Cooper, he left big high-paying job to come and took a big pay cut because he believed in this. He believed in this industry, this model, and that's why I came and worked for him again, is because of the person he is and everything that we get to do for our customers.
nice. So now you guys are going to have a show, and it's obviously not always going to be about insurance, right?
It'll always maybe have an undercurrent of
Absolutely,
insurance. There's so many different topics to talk about. But yeah, we may just spitball it one day. I mean, I don't know what we're
Hey,
going to do.
everybody out there knows I got a show. That's what we do the whole entire time.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted your audience to get to know who you guys are.
Yeah, I love my lawn. I mean, I could sit here and talk all day long about how to prep your lawn. Just depend on the season, and
Yeah.
and there's all kinds of different things.
But people would love to hear that stuff.
Chris is what I'm gathering. He's never come right out and said it, but I think he was like a real awesome catcher in college baseball.
Yeah.
And he coaches little
He
league baseball.
caught at 6'8".
No,
Chris.
Our president,
Oh, you're
Chris
right.
Cooper.
Okay.
Yeah, you have
Okay, I
had a
got
chance.
mixed up.
Yeah.
That's better.
In
I
fact,
did back in the day when I was in 6th grade.
Chris isn't here today because
That's back when you were 6 foot tall.
Yeah, literally.
he coaches tournament baseball, and they're out doing that all week, and finally got a chance to catch up some of the makeup games, I guess.
Chris
Yeah.
played at Baker for 4 years,
That's right.
and then he played overseas professionally in Belgium for several years.
They have good waffles, I hear.
Yeah,
Is that true? Have
In
you ever been to
Bruges.
Belgium?
yeah. I tell him he's got to fly us out there and let us
Yeah.
know. So
Do you guys do business insurance too?
We do business
Yes.
insurance, commercial property, general liability, different things like that as well.
That would fall under umbrella as well, wouldn't it?
You bet.
yes.
What about renter's insurance?
That's a great question, and I was going to bring that up a little bit ago with your question about the eggs in one basket. I mean, so when we quote somebody just on the cars, Chris and Ross do a lot of business with Lisa and Volkswagen, and all of a sudden they'll get the car insurance so they can get the car off the lot that day, whatever. But they follow up and see if they have a renter's and find out, wow, it's going to be hardly nothing because you already got a car insurance with us, and so it just helps bundle that as well. And so yes.
So you do have renter's insurance.
Chris has a client, I don't remember what apartment complex it is,
Sunny side.
they require every new tenant to call Chris and buy the renters before they even let them occupy the space.
Well, I know a lot. I've actually, for those of you listening out there, this is Matt. I've known people that didn't have renters insurance, and like the apartment building caught on fire,
With
and
no fault
all
of
their
their
stuff
own.
was, and all their stuff smoke damage.
Yep.
There's nothing could happen, nothing. Or they were renting a house here lately. I think it was just the other day, and they lost everything in the tornado. But they were renting, and they didn't have renters insurance. They lost everything.
Yep.
And then that's why I really want people out there to understand, you got to try and get insurance on everything that you possibly can.
Yep.
Because you never know what's going to happen.
Well, you've heard the term insurance rich and dirt poor, but you know, that's why you just need guys. You don't want to get on the internet and have someone that's non-personal have to go through the SKUs of the 800 number and all the different prompts and have the phone company hang up on you. You want to be able to call up and say, hey Ross, hey Jay, hey Chris, what can I do? What is it available to me to do with this
Yeah.
particular peril that I just was involved with?
Yeah, I just signed my buddy up with insurance for renters, $12 a month. I'm like, look around your apartment, your couch. He has a little studio about the size of this room, but it's still your computer, your couches, your refrigerator, everything in there. You know, it's $30,000 personal property coverage for $12 a month, which most
Wow.
places require you to have it. So it's just, you don't ever want to be in that situation where you don't have it, and you want to make sure you cover your base, especially as you get older, you acquire all this stuff.
Now, what is your region? Like, how far out do you go? Like, can someone in Texas get a hold of you guys and get insurance out there?
The answer to that is yes and no. I'm licensed in Missouri and Kansas, and I'm licensed in other states with life insurance. As far as Texas, our network is so big, we would be able to help someone out in Texas from what my understanding is through our network. It may not be us personally,
Be a different agent.
but through our network we could get somebody, and the way things are changing, it may just depend on specific what that client in Texas would want.
Nice. I think we got about 10 minutes left to kill. So, tell us a little bit something like, I don't know, a funny story about yourselves.
Oh wow, I don't.
We'll dig right into it.
You're all looking at me. You already see the humor.
It's a pretty big bag of stuff, isn't it?
You already see the humor, but no, I'll just tell you about myself. I'm 57 years old. I'm a father of two, a grandfather of two boys. I've lived in Lee Summit since 1970. I'm the Jackson County Sheriff's Patrolman's son.
Did you get into a lot of trouble when you were younger?
Are you kidding me? You see how old I am? I grew up in an era where my dad had his thumb like this on us, and if I'd done anything to embarrass my father with his occupation, those were spanking days. Those were real life spanking days.
Oh, yeah.
And
Pick a switch.
I'm not.
the neighbors spanked you too.
I know.
That's a good old
And,
days.
and then
Yeah.
your dad would spank you again before they happened to spank you. You know, you never went home and told your dad that you got swatted by the principal because you're going to get another one for having to have him do it. No, I've been in this area my whole life. I love this area. Both of my daughters graduated from Lee Summit West back in the one just recently. She's going off to be a NICU nurse at UMKC in the fall.
That's a tough calling.
It is, and she loves children, and I wish her the best of luck. And my other daughter lives down in Sedalia with her husband, and he's a general manager and a manager of I believe it's the Woods Market stores. And my grandsons are 8 and 6. My daughter has a business called Katie's Cookies, and she makes cookies, beautiful cookies, and she's so good at decorating. She makes cupcakes for weddings. My wife is a customer experience director at the Hy-Vee in Lee Summit on Ward Road. She's been with Hy-Vee, I think, going on 9 or 10 years. I'm an open book kind of guy. You just call me up, ask me anything you want to do. I'd have nothing to hide from anybody.
So yeah, we'll need to get the website or the contact information for the cookies.
Katie's Cookies.
I'm a chubby guy. I love cookies.
Facebook,
Yeah,
yes.
for those of you listening, Jay was part of the original financing behind Growing Out of Autism, and was a committed supporter financially and time and everything else for those shows that we did called GOA on Axe Television, Growing Out of Autism, and we are very appreciative of that and his efforts and support. Autism is just not a popular problem. People recognize it, but it's hard to raise money, it's hard to be recognized, it's hard to really pay attention, and Jay did that, and for that we're forever appreciative.
Well, thank you, Jim. That means a lot.
What about you,
Well,
Ross? Tell us a real quick funny story about yourself. What is the goofiest thing you've ever done or gotten in trouble for?
oh
The
no.
catcher in baseball.
He wouldn't have been a good sailor, I'm telling you that, on a submarine. He couldn't have gone through the hatches.
You know, there's a lot, and I'm trying to filter some of them out. I'll just tell you a recent one. My sister was in town. I was up in Iowa, is where my dad lives, in Ames, Iowa. And it was Christmas time. My sister was in town visiting with her 2 daughters and husband from Illinois. So we were having dinner. We go to the store and I bought 4 lobsters, and these were big lobster tails. So we cook them all up. I eat a big potato, and for some reason we had chocolate milk for my nieces, but I decided to pour a big glass of chocolate milk. I'm telling everyone, don't do that, because they just don't mix.
It made my stomach churn just thinking about it.
Chocolate milk and lobster and baked potato?
I know.
Buttered lobster, buttered up too?
Yeah, oh yeah, and my dad loves butter.
gosh.
So, I was like in denial that I was like sick, because I'm like, I can't be wasting this $30 lobster, but my dad, if you bring it up to him, he's still just laughing at me.
He's like, what are you, 10?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm going to bed, it's 9:30, but you
Oh
take
my
it easy.
gosh,
And then,
that is a
and then
funny
later
story.
I had to get rid of it, but
That's worse than eating convenience store sushi.
yeah, exactly, 7-Eleven sushi, and no, I just lesson learned. Don't
Been
mix
there
big
7-Eleven
quantities of chocolate milk, and this is the extra thick stuff. So
Oh, man.
that's just the freshest embarrassing
That's
story
not
I
right.
have.
Wow.
Well, fellas, it looks like we're about down to that time. I won't be here the next time you guys are recording, but for those listening out there, if you have any questions for these two, comment right now, because you're obviously going to be watching it on Facebook Live, and one of you is going to try to be watching that to be able to answer questions, right?
Absolutely.
And if you have any other questions for them and they may not be able to answer, you can always get a hold of us here at Acts Ministry and Acts Media Group, and we can relay a message to them. But we will also, through this whole entire show, you'll have noticed that there's been a little ticker going across the screen with contact information across the bottom. And again, this is Jay Sharp, or Jay Hunt, and Ross Elrich. And I mean, you guys can go ahead. You guys want to practice your outro?
I've never done an outro necessarily, but guys, I can't say it enough. We're Within the Game Insurance. Love to be your resource to any of your insurance needs. Feel free to give us a call. And again, with our partnership with Axe Media Group and Axe Network, TV Network, free of charge. We'll be happy to look over your stuff, and we'll be honest with you too. We'll tell you if you're fine, and we're just not out to solicit business. We're out to do what's right for you, the client.